Welcome back, Golden Eagles, to Eagle Interview. My name is Kaylon Moran, and I'll be your host. Today we have a very special guest in the studio. She's the newly elected president of the Student Government Association. I'd like to welcome into the studio Leah Johnson. Hi, Leah.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing good. It's awesome to have you here today.
I'm glad to be here.
Right. Well, first off, congratulations so much.
Thank you.
This is an awesome victory for you.
Yes.
Yeah. So do you want to give a little bit of a brief introduction to you? What's your major? What's your classification?
Sure. So I am a junior. I'm a criminal justice major, and I have minors in forensic science, legal studies, and child advocacy studies. So the goal after this will be law school, hopefully. But I am from Simpsonville, South Carolina. Like I said, I'm a junior, and yeah, that's it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I would like to start out by asking you, what is the responsibility of the Student Government Association?
So the SGA, we exist really to advocate for and to serve our students here at Southern Miss. So we are the premier advocacy body on campus, whether that be through resolutions passed through our Senate that affect, things that are in day-to-day student life, like police presence on West 4th Street and new painting arrows in the parking garage. Those are both things that have come out recently from us. Anything from that to community service opportunities, whether that's on campus, within our organization, or off campus, building those Hattiesburg partnerships. And then we also offer, involvement opportunities for students and leadership development opportunities as well.
Right. Those are all really good points about, how students on campus are getting involved to make decisions for the students. So I want to ask you, as president, what will your role be in all of this?
I think, kind of going off what you just said, Southern Miss does a great job of keeping students involved in all of their administrative decisions, something I think this university should be very proud of. And so as SGA President, the way that I like to say it is you are kind of the student that the administration goes to when they kind of want to get a pulse on what the students are thinking about things. So that means serving on a lot of different university committees, serving as our university's student representative to the IHL board, which is all the public universities in Mississippi, and then also just running the day-to-day operations of the Student Government Association. So, appointing your cabinet, overseeing how the Senate runs, how the student court runs, all those things, and just making sure that we are running an effective organization so we can keep advocating for students as best we can.
Yeah, absolutely. I know Southern Miss has a very good Student Government Association, and they really do a lot to bring out the students, to give community opportunities for involvement, and it is, as you said before, really rewarding that Southern Miss does prioritize this a lot. I know there are some universities it's not really that much on their mind, but it's great that we have that here. So I want to ask about, election. What was it like for you to decide to say, I want to become president, and what was your campaign like?
So this past year I was an officer as well. I served as our Chief Justice. So I ran for election once before, but that was definitely like a lot lower stakes of a position, and it was just a different type of election. We had some different rules and stuff. So going into this year, this is a position that definitely, to be honest, I was very intimidated to take on because it is such a big opportunity. And as somebody who's not a Southern Miss legacy or someone that knew a lot about Southern Miss before I came here, it is intimidating to take on that role as the SGA president, but also as the student body president. It is a lot of pressure. So it was definitely something that I had to think about a lot, but our past president, Braxton Reddick, I got to kind of work with him a lot this year, and he kind of encouraged me to continue in that direction when I expressed it was something I might be interested in. So through working with him, I was able to really understand the role in a lot more depth, I think. And that's what kind of gave me the confidence to run for it. So whenever I announced my platform, I decided to run on the new 3 core values that we had decided on for our SGA this past year. So they are in our Constitution, but I was a part of the rewriting of this new Constitution, so I didn't feel like I was stealing somebody else's work per se, but just capitalizing on the direction we want SGA to continue, which is advocacy, service, and community. And so those are really the 3 biggest important things to me. And I know I already hit on advocacy and service a little bit earlier, but just making sure we're advocating for student interests, we're serving students, meeting them where they are so that we can advocate for them better in all of our conversations. And then also that we're building connections with our campus community, with the Hattiesburg community, and that we're building a community as an organization that we're very unified.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really happy that you mentioned those 3 core values, because those are just applicable to everybody on campus, even off campus. As an adult, you'll need to be able to take those skills in and to become a functional adult. So I'm really glad that we're prioritizing that as students are entering the workforce, as they're going through their most some of their most developmental stages in their adult life. So what about, you personally? I like that you mentioned that, you're not necessarily a Southern Miss native, neither am I, and honestly, it can be really intimidating to go for such a high position. So you mentioned that you were in another position before. Have you always been interested in student government?
So I went to a really small high school, and we didn't have any form of student government. We didn't have it in my middle school either. Like, I've just never been around it or exposed to it. But I knew when I came to Southern Miss it was something I wanted to get involved with. So I joined our freshman program, Freshman Associates, my first year at Southern Miss, and then transitioned from there into the judicial branch. Because that was kind of at the point in my life where I started to think about law school. So I was like, let me see like if I enjoy this. And then from there, I just kind of have moved up. And I think it's really, I have a unique experience in that way that I didn't have SGA experience before starting college. Because I think a lot of university SGA presidents, that's been like, we did student council in high school and then kind of transitioned into it. But it's been fun, like, to learn about it only from a university perspective, because I think we get to do a lot more than student councils get to do in high schools and stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that does give you an advantage over people who have had roles like that in high school and middle school, because you're right, there's not necessarily a lot of flexibility that can be given to students that young. But, to come right out the gate and say, I'm unfamiliar with this type of position, but I'd still want to pursue it because, I might want to go into something like that down the line. That's a really, really, monumental step for you to take as a student. So I applaud you on that. That's really impressive.
Thank you.
So a little bit more about, your role and such. How have you worked with other new members of the Student Government Association? What have you guys been talking about?
So we are just kind of getting off the ground. I was just inaugurated last week. So we have some applications going out for different positions in SGA right now and kind of getting some new people on board. But one of my favorite things this past year has been, as an officer, like, getting to be really intentional about connecting with our new members, but especially with our freshman members. I think we have a really phenomenal freshman class right now. We have a lot of interest in student involvement that I feel like is kind of finally recovering post-COVID. So it's just been really fun to kind of bring those people in and, get to meet them and become friends with them. And something I've been talking about a lot recently, because I've seen the importance of this in my life, is like friendship and mentorship need to be coupled together. I feel like, especially as students and in student organizations, like, I want my friends to be people that I look up to, and I want my friends to look up to me. Like, we should all challenge each other in some way. So I think just coming alongside new members and everyone in our organization and seeing, like, the ways that we can work to improve each other and improve how we serve the students is something that I'm big on.
That's a really, really good mentality to have, because that's something I would also agree wholeheartedly with. You surround yourself by people who you have similar values to them, and you want to challenge them to also raise the bar. You want to challenge yourself to raise the bar. So I think inspiring, friendship and mentorship in students, especially, young freshmen, it can be a challenge, but it will be rewarding in the long run. So I think that's something that's really, really good for you guys to start, prioritizing as the Student Government Association. And as for you specifically in other organizations, I know you're involved with a couple other groups on campus. You serve as an RA, actually for my hall, Scott Hall, so go Scotties. Do you want to talk a little bit about your roles there?
Yes, so I serve as an RA. This is my second year doing that, and I'll be coming back again next year, getting to work with first-year students next year for the first time, so I think that'll be a fun experience. But that's just a good way to connect with people and provide support. I'm also involved with the RISE program, which is a program for students with disabilities that come and get a certificate at USM. So they attend classes, have the college experience, but it's not necessarily working towards a degree in the same way. So I am a peer mentor for them, or they kind of call it a student partner, a peer mentor. But basically just I'm paired with one specific student, and I work to support him and kind of talk to him about his academics if he needs any assistance, but more so just to, like, come alongside him as a friend and, like, a point of contact as someone who knows university resources and has been here a little bit longer, kind of help him connect with the things that he needs on campus. And then I'm also involved with the Honors College Leadership Council. I've served in some different roles there. I was on the Community Life Committee, which kind of worked on putting on events for Honors College scholars. Then I transitioned over to being an ambassador, which is kind of fun. We get to do the recruiting for the Honors College, so get to go table at Black and Gold Days and stuff like that, and just talk to prospective students about honors and what kind of benefits that brings to your academic experience. And so starting next semester, I'll be serving as the Vice President of Ambassadors for them as well. So I'll be over that committee, getting to do some fun recruiting stuff for the Honors College.
Those are all really, really exciting opportunities. You know, there's so many different ways to get involved on this campus, and I really appreciate that. There's, you know, figures like yourself who, you know, get involved in such amazing ways to help, you know, not only current student but also prospective students as well. That's really, really nice to hear. And speaking, you know, about your involvement on campus, I want to ask you a little bit more about SGA. What are some future plans or goals that you hope to have?
I think the biggest things are going to be continuing to build out our community service. So we've recently instated, it'll be effective in the fall, but a requirement for all of our members to complete a certain amount of community service that's organized by the SGA, by our Department of Initiatives. So we want to really focus on on-campus service, so how can we help our campus community? Because something I really believe in is that we're not representing the students well if we're not going out and meeting them where they're at and having conversations with them about what they need. And I think the best way to do that is to serve them and create that culture of servant leadership. So that's something I'm really big on. And then in terms of like more advocacy policy things, I really just want to continue to improve SGA's partnerships with certain departments on campus. I was actually just speaking with Dr. Motter about this today, but just continuing to build out our partnerships with housing and residence life and parking and transit services in those areas that we know affect student life. Just making sure that there are students being heard in all their decisions, regardless of what the outcome of those decisions may be, that they know what the student perspective is and that they're keeping it at the forefront.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, parking and housing life is all, it affects the population universally. You know, student life revolves honestly around some of those decisions that students choose to make in that sector. So having, you know, student leaders serving in those facilities and, you know, around campus just listening and taking in student issues and student suggestions is really, really important. As far as, you know, student involvement, which, you know, you really prioritize, what would you say to students who are looking to get involved with SGA?
I think one thing I like to say is that we're very diverse in our opportunities. We have something for everybody, I feel like. You don't have to be a super government-oriented person. You don't have to want to go to law school or be a politician to get involved with SGA. We have a lot of opportunities that are, you know, in our office of the secretary. We have undersecretary positions that work on design, marketing, merchandise. So all of those things, if that's something you're interested in, those are good opportunities. Obviously, we take senators from every academic college, and then that represents special interests. So if you want to represent your academic college or the students that you're around in, you know, whatever Greek council you're a part of or something like that, we are always looking to have those perspectives. Additionally, we'll have positions on our election commission and our student court, which are the more judicial side of things. That's kind of my area where I came up in SGA, so I always, you know, we get to make sure that student voices are being heard in things like parking appeals and issues within the SGA, all that kind of stuff. So there definitely is something for everybody, and I know student government can be kind of intimidating just because, like, we do want to be governmental, we do want to be an advocacy body, and we have that government word in our name. So I think that when people think of SGA and they want to think about joining, I don't want it to be intimidating because it sounds like, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to, you know, want to be a lawyer or be a political science major or something to join this organization. We are very diverse, and I feel like we do have opportunities for everybody that cares about Southern Miss and wants to improve our campus.
Right. I really appreciate you saying that because, you know, typically when you do hear the word government, you associate that title with those other career positions. And so emphasizing that this organization, this association is open to anybody who is interested in advocating for themselves, their academic college, their fellow students is really, really important. What would you say, you know, as a final closing to students who may have an issue on campus or who may just want to give a suggestion to better the campus? How can they best reach out to the Student Government Association?
Yes, so we love to hear from students. Obviously, that's what we do. We want to be talking to students all the time. So we have a suggestion box outside of our office. Anytime that we're in the office, come knock on the door, find one of us. We'll be in there. We are in the hub now across from Seymour's where the old FSL office used to be. We moved into that space this fall, and I think it's really fit us very well. We're a little more accessible to students, and we have some signage and stuff, so you should be able to find us there. We're also available, Southern Miss SGA, our website, our Instagram. There'll be ways to contact all the officers, anyone that you feel like, is the right person to contact. Obviously, anyone's able to reach out to me at any time if there's a concern, and I'll direct it in the right way. But we really do want to hear student opinions. If we can't help with it, maybe we can direct it to the right person who can. That's what we're here for.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that you guys are so reachable to the typical student, because advocating for students takes every student having the opportunity to do that. So I really appreciate that your office is so open, and I'm happy that y'all are located in a new location that's more centralized to the school. But this all sounds like really, really exciting plans for the future, and I'm really happy, that you were elected and are inspiring new change that is going to better the student body and going to better the Southern Miss community. So
yeah, I'm really excited. I think it's going to be a really fun year, and hopefully we'll do a lot of good for the students here at Southern Miss.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much again for sitting down with me,
thank you
and
for having
congratulations.
Me.
We are so happy to have you here.
Yes,
and thank you, Golden Eagles, for tuning into Eagle Interview. My name is Kaylon Moran, and I've been your host. I'll see you next time. To the top.